to Lucia Gabriela TV, the place to be if you want to learn everything and mostly everything about love, relationships, sensuality, sexuality, purpose, and passion. I am Lucia Gabriela, your host today, and we have a special guest with us. And I'm going to be reading to you his bio, which is fascinating. And his name is Bryan Reeves. And maybe some of you know him, and maybe some of you don't know him, but I've been following this amazing man for a while, so it's very interesting. Okay, so Bryan Reeves is a former U.S. Air Force captain and has survived multiple dark nights of the soul, and now coaches men and women and couples to create thriving life and relationship. My favorite topic. He is the author of the viral blog, Choose Her Every Day or Live Her, and 2 books, The Sex, Flirting, Dating, Hunting, and Hoping Diet, cool, and Tell the Truth, Let the Peace Fall Well Where It May. My English, sorry. But
okay.
Connect on Facebook with Bryan, and also check him out at www.bryanreeves.com. So let's welcome Bryan today to our show. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi.
Excited.
Hi.
Thank you. Such an honor to have you in our show. Congratulations in your life in
Thank you.
2017. I know it's going to be fabulous, fantastic.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. This is a big year. This is a good year. You feeling it?
Yeah, I feel it's going to be awesome. My favorite word is orgasmic, so I feel like 2017 is going to be super orgasmic.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. 2016 was seemed to be, for the consciousness of humanity, seemed to be heavy for a lot of folks, and I understand. But I don't know, there's a new energy releasing. I know a lot of people are scared because of the political situation and everything, but, you know, sometimes things need to get a little worse before they get better, but I feel very, very excited for 2017.
Yes, and it's when we work in alchemical process, we know that we need to purge everything that does not serve us anymore. And so important to realize that everything that has happened to us in our life is a purging process. So I'm so excited about 2017 and 2018. They're going to be incredible. So for all of you who has joined us here today and who may be watching this recording, today we're going to be talking about this great topic. When Bryan sent me this topic, I was like, oh, wow, this is interesting. I want to learn more about it. From a woman's perspective, I actually love and I adore men's opinions about relationship. Because one thing is sharing how we can relate with others from a woman's perspective, but it's too inspirational and powerful to learn from men, and especially evolved men like Bryan. And it's a new concept having like evolved men and evolved women. so I'm talking about men who are very mature, but also they are into the heart. They are into feeling the emotion, the body, feeling the essence, and really walking a life of exploration and transformation. So it's really amazing for me as a woman to hear what men has to say. So the topic today is about why her anger doesn't have to make sense to you. So let's start with that.
Oh my God, you might as well start with that question. Why her anger doesn't have to make sense to you? Oh my God, I feel like there's a lot of stuff to unpack before we even begin to get to that. But let me ask you, are you in a relationship right now?
Yes.
Yes. With a man?
Yes. I love men.
How long have you been in the relationship?
We've been together for 2 years now.
2 years. Do you ever get angry at him?
Yeah. When he's playing the game.
Yeah. I want to just look how excited you were when I asked you that question. Like your eyes lit up like, yeah. Like you're excited that you get angry at him. You know, one of the things that, so my girlfriend, I'm in a relationship also for about a year and a half now. And my girlfriend, she's also a marriage and family therapist, and she's amazing. And we have so much self-awareness and awareness around these dynamics. But we're still people. We're both just people. We're both humans. I'm a man, she's a woman. You know, we're just people. And So we have a lot of fun with these dynamics, but sometimes, you know, we have our moments, and you know, she's angry at me regularly, it seems. Like anger is just part of the human experience. It's part of the full range of feminine expression in a man or a woman, right? That feminine, emotional, feminine energy is all of it, is the whole emotional spectrum. And, you know, I in my past relationships many years ago, I'm 42 years exquisite, thank you. And in my past relationships, women were always angry at me. My girlfriends were always angry at me, and I never understood why the hell am I making women angry? I don't get it. What the hell is happening here? I'm a good man. I'm a good person. I'm a good dude. I mean well. I'm always, you know, I'm trying to see the best in every situation. Like I've always meant well. So why were my girlfriends angry at me so much, right? And this really puzzled me for so long. And you know, the last 6 years or so before I met my current girlfriend, I really dove into that masculine and feminine dynamic. Like, what was I missing? What wasn't I taught about intimacy, about the dance of intimate relationship that clearly is sabotaging me, right? It's like, what the hell don't I know? I just refused to believe that I was going to suck at relationships for the rest of my life. And, you know, what I discovered in that was, you know, we live in a very 50-50 culture. You know, women are very empowered in their masculine capacity to produce and accomplish and succeed and make money and solve problems, and that's a really good thing. That's really healthy. But men, and I should say, and men, for the last many decades, we've been learning to kind of get out of the way and sort of let women kind of take the lead a bit more, and you know, to learn to do 50-50 partnerships, you know, shared everything, responsibility, shared everything. And that was my model growing up for what a successful couple looks like. It's all 50-50. And so that's what I tried to do in my intimate relationships. And are you from South America?
Yes, from Ecuador.
From Ecuador. So I happened to date a woman from Chile for about 4 or 5 years, and she was not having this 50-50 relationship stuff.
Yeah.
She was not having it. And but I didn't understand what the hell was going on, right? But you know, yeah, you laugh because you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And so, you know, that relationship was really my first real exposure to this idea that maybe men and women are different. And I totally resisted that. I refused to accept that we're different because I associated that with meaning we're not equal, right? And I just know that that's not true. Of course we're equal in our value and our worth and in our humanity, but what was going on there was she was pointing at what she was aching for, which I only woke up to later, was she was aching for a masculine presence that I wasn't offering because no one taught me how. I didn't have fathers showing me how to do that, how to really offer heart-connected masculine presence. All my examples of masculinity were really pretty awful. You know, they were the guy that just uses women or uses alcohol or, you know, just makes money at the expense of others. Or there was, you know, the movie superhero, superstar, again, that just got all the women, had all the bravado and swagger, but he was also kind of a dick, you know, or the professional athlete. Same, my models for masculinity were really grotesque. And I was also in the military. I was a military officer where I got reinforced with this idea of masculinity as just a kind of a killing machine. And I just instinctively knew to reject all of that. And so when I did intimate relationship with women, I didn't really know how to show up as a man. And my girlfriends, they felt that was hurtful to them. And if most women, I don't want to speak for you, but you can corroborate what I'm saying. Most women have not grown up surrounded by safe, healthy masculine energy, right? You've grown up exposed to really dysfunctional, disconnected masculine energy, right? So you grow up in a world that you don't feel safe in, and so you've learned to create your own safety, right? To bring your own masculine energy. But when you go into intimate relationship, you're aching to surrender that, to let that down, so that you can just give your gift and be in your beautiful feminine offering and relax. I mean, this is why we do intimacy, to exchange these energies, this masculine and feminine dance. And as a most women, not all, but most women are more predominantly feminine. You want a partner, whether a man or another woman who's more masculine, but you want a partner that you can relax with and let that guard down with. But when you're with a man who, or woman for that matter, that you're expecting that kind of masculine presence and you're not getting it, you have to stay in your tension, stay in with your guard up. And the women that I would chose, that wasn't good enough for them, right? So their anger would reflect. Now, they didn't know what they were saying. They didn't really understand either what they were really asking for, or they asked for it in really unhealthy ways, really unskillful, I should say, unskillful ways. They were demanding me to kind of grow up and be a man. My Chilean girlfriend said that many times, which I just took. It was very offensive, actually, the way that she was communicating it. It was because it was just total criticism, right? It just came off as criticism. And so, we created this dynamic where she was dying for masculine presence, and I was totally resisting her way of asking, right? And so it just perpetuated her anger constantly. And she wasn't the only woman that I experienced that with. And so, I'm sharing this part of it. There's a whole other conversation about, even just in a healthy dynamic, anger is going to be present. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But I want to just really kind of bring this to the forefront first for any men that are watching or women that are watching. Like, there's a real phenomenon where men. I'm 42. I don't think I really started learning how to be a man in my body, in my presence, until my late 30s. Really, even just I'm still on that journey now in my early 40s. And I think a lot of men, that's what we're experiencing. We don't really wake up to what it means to be a man until we're in our 40s. And it's usually because we've had enough women make life miserable for us that we can't avoid it anymore.
And I honor and I appreciate you mentioning this, because the reason why I got in touch with you is because your name shows up in one of the communications I had with Destin, who is a colleague of yours. And that has been my question for many mentors and in the field and professionals in the field, because like you mentioned, yes, we don't know women, and we come into this environment and we are not feeling safe. There's not this mature, evolved, masculine, beautiful energy, being yourself, being the essence of the masculine. And we don't feel safe. We don't feel secure. We don't feel this. So we have to provide. And I understand that we also self-responsible and self-accountable to create our own safety within ourselves. But it's important to also see the reflection coming out from the outside world. And when it comes to the topic of men being in the masculine, we crave for it. And I'm telling you, it is something that even in my own journey, it is something that I also exploring with my partner in the aspect of masculinity. Because like you said, like men and women, we don't know. We're exploring. You and I, we're exploring. We're sharing with the world our explorations. And And I tell you, from a woman point of view, perspective, and of all women, an aspect that I'm like so conscious, it is so powerful for us, for women, to be in the presence of a powerful, strong, like masculine. Not the way that people, society paint it, but these is fully essence of the masculine. We crave it.
Yeah.
We're craving it, and there's so many women craving for it, and they don't know what to do, how to ask for it, and men also don't know what to do. Like they don't know how to get into that journey. So it's so beautiful that you bring in that, because we are craving it. Women, we are craving this masculine energy.
Yeah, and your anger is both understandable and appropriate and necessary. If we're gonna wake up, again, the only reason I even got awareness that I didn't know what the hell it meant to be a man and how to be a man. The only way I got awareness was by enough women in my face kind of, screaming at me that this isn't working for them. Right? So, I mean, that's in the intimate dance, but also I think in the world at large, even what's happening with our politics right now and the presidency. I think, a lot of women are speaking out, and they're doing a march on Washington, and it's so appropriate that women express their anger in the face of adolescent masculine bullshit. We're not going to wake up otherwise. We will not, we don't have rituals anymore that evolve, that initiate adolescent boys into manhood. Mm-hmm. We don't have those. And so we have adolescent boys that remain in their adolescence in male and man bodies, but they remain psychologically adolescent for decades, if not their entire lives, because there's not that, there's no accountability. They're not being held accountable. They're not even confronting the things that every boyhood to manhood ritual involves a symbolic death, the death of that adolescent psychology, so that the man psychology can emerge. The man psychology meaning, the psychology that's connected to heart, that serves the community, not just my selfish, self-centered desires and needs, right? That's missing, and it's come down to women largely creating being the catalysts for that transformation. And it really requires women saying no, this is not okay. Right? The way that you're exploiting the planet, the way that you're exploiting people, the way that you're hurting the environment, the way that you're hurting each other, the way that you're hurting women, the way that you're doing into all of this, it's not okay. Right? So and that it's anger is the vehicle through which that gets communicated. Right? So again, that's the kind of big picture of a very appropriate anger in we'll call it a feminine rage or the feminine anger. That doesn't even begin to address though the second question, or the first question, right? Why a woman's anger doesn't need to make sense to a man. But I think it's really important to speak to that first. Because that anger does make sense. That anger is very, very understandable and logical even, and appropriate and necessary. And I want both women and men watching this to hear that. But there's that other question that we could dive into if you'd like to go there now, if there's anything else that you want to share on this first part.
Well, it is fascinating with that when you send the topic, I wasn't sure where it was gonna go.
Yeah.
But it makes so much sense the way you're saying it. The whole aspect of like anger help you to awaken, and it is true. When we really look at the emotion of anger, it's a very beautiful, powerful emotion that helps us to connect with ourselves. It's one I feel like it's not I don't think it's like a negative emotion, but it's actually a wake up call emotion that helps you wake up. And anger, actually, the chemistry of anger, I feel like you can feel in your whole body. So it's an emotion that helps you to connect with your internal body and your internal temperature, and become focused in that present moment of what's happening in your life. And
Well, think about it like, what's that?
Now it makes sense why the title, the whole thing. I'm putting all this together. Like, it makes sense.
Well, and think about it like this. Like, if you have a child, if you have a little boy and he has a fork and he's about to stick it in a light socket, speaking politely to him is not going to get his attention. Cute himself. Anger is it gets his attention. As you said, it refocuses, so it stops him from doing. You know what mankind is doing right now, what men over and over and over, what we're doing is we're constantly sticking forks into light sockets. That's what we're doing constantly. We're poisoning ourselves. In our racism, in our prejudices, in our sexism, in our politics, in the way we make money. We're fork in the outlet constantly. That's anger. There's a big difference between being angry because I'm hurt and being angry because you're hurting yourself and I want you to stop. Right? There's a huge difference in that anger. Right?
Yes.
And that's a skill, learning how to, as a parent, you can do it much easier because you realize this child doesn't know what they're doing. Right? You know that, I got to use anger to kind of teach them. Well, again, so many, and I'm just going to speak, in heterosexual terms, but so many men, we're just like that little boy. We don't know what the hell we're doing. We're sticking a fork into the socket. But what happens is a lot of women are expressing, and it's, again, this is not a condemnation, it's very understandable, but when women are expressing their anger because I'm hurt, it's hard for men to hear that because men are in their own hurt. Right? Everyone's in their own kind of self-centered hurt, and none of us are hearing each other. And so, it's a skill that we can learn how to offer anger. I say offer anger. It's an offering to get that attention. When you see your man sticking his, fork in a socket, he's not living up to his potential. He's not showing up for the relationship. He's checked out emotionally. Maybe he's using alcohol. Maybe he's using porn. Guarantee you, someone watching this video, you're either a man who's addicted to porn or you're with a man who is, or who uses porn, or that's such a huge problem these days. And that affects our intimacy. I had that experience, that it doesn't serve him to keep doing whatever he's doing. And you can see that, your feminine wisdom, you can feel the pain that he's numbing out to. And your anger can be his wake-up call. And I know a lot of men don't want that wake-up call, not on the surface, but their soul is aching for that wake-up call, right? And so if you can learn to communicate, to offer your anger as an offering for his waking up versus as a demand to take care of me, right? Those are two very different ways of expressing anger. That offering can be much more effective in serving the awakening of that man, and therefore your relationship. You having the deep connection you really yearn for. If your anger is offered in the way of just, hey, you're not taking care of me, usually what you're going to get back is, well, fuck you, that's not my job. You take care of you. You're a strong woman. You're a grown. You kind of, you get that sort of resistance, right? That makes sense?
Yeah. When you just said that, it just reminded me of a cartoon, a comic cartoon that talks about women, right? In an aspect that we have, like you said, we have embodied this aspect of creating safety for ourselves from a masculine perspective. So now we all women walking around saying, I don't need a man. I can take care of myself. I don't need you. I can do everything. And we don't let the man masculinity really being offering a service to the feminine, right? Mm-hmm. So this cartoon was saying something happened that she needed help, and all of a sudden she said like, oh shit, I'm a strong, empowered woman. Oh fuck.
Right.
So it is just like we have been living this time where even women, we just don't allow the masculine energy to be of service.
That's right.
By being the man, the masculine, be strong and being present.
That's right. And that's very important though. It's very important that women have developed that capacity. But most women in kind of society at large, we've sort of stopped there. And that's not the end of the story, right? It's a really healthy thing, but there's another stage. There's a step beyond that. And that's where, from that place of independence, where you don't need a man, I think it's really healthy that a woman gets that she doesn't need a man. But now, from that place, that's the launching point from which now you can allow yourself to receive a man, his whatever that looks like, his presence, his help, his whatever, whether it means him paying for dinner or just him, holding you while you cry or whatever, right? Just listening. That's really important. That's this dance of intimacy that we don't do in the 50-50 dynamic. Again, the 50-50 dynamic, we're both kind of, we're just sort of the same. And there's a lot of friction that happens in that place because, there's no polarity. And there's usually there's two masculine people butting heads or kind of two feminine people and nothing's going, this relationship ain't going anywhere, and so what's really the opportunity that we have here is from that place of independence to now move into interdependence, where we allow ourselves again to rely on each other to do this dance. And this is where, again, anger comes up again, right? And anger can be a whole different, we can be with anger in a very different capacity now from this place of interdependence, right? And I'm about to segue into this new topic. Are we ready to do that?
Sure. Yeah. Before that,
yeah.
When you're talking about the aspect of being independent, I also feel like many people, especially many women, coming from like what I've observed and helping with women and working with women, sometimes we feel like when we create this aspect of like, I don't need a man, oh, I'm so independent and all that stuff, which it hurts us in like a very deep emotional level, an intimate level. It comes from a place of fear. It does not come from a place of being in your power and being in your true essence. It comes from a place of really fear, because I need to be independent because I know I cannot count on anybody else. Or I need to be, I don't need a man because many men have failed me in my life. So we create this aspect of we don't need a man anymore in our life because we're afraid and we have been, you know what I mean? Like we have been.
Well, absolutely. Well, you're doing that in response to codependence. Yes. So this is the first stage out of codependence. So in codependent relating, here's what we do. And you can think of it like when we're born as babies, we're completely dependent on a caretaker, on our parents, somebody to love us, right? If they don't love us, we will literally die. At least feed us, pay attention to us. Don't leave us in the bushes alone somewhere. Like we literally require affection, attention, care and feeding, touch, or we'll physically perish. Now, we spend the first 15 years of our lives growing up in that psychological kind of understanding, like our nervous system gets tuned to really getting, like, if I don't get love, I'm gonna die, right? And then we take that and go into our intimate relationships. We do adult relationships and we have that same kind of nervous system attuning. Our psychology is like, if you break up with me, it feels like death. Right? If you don't love me, if you don't show up for this relationship, if you don't choose me, it feels like I'm gonna die. And so what happens is that's codependence, and we're all, we're basing our, it's the whole you complete me culture, right? That I'm gonna find someone who completes me, which means if they leave me, then all of a sudden I'm broken again. I'm half of what I am, right? It feels like death. And so we're completely putting responsibility for our well-being on our partner's shoulders. And no human being can ever live up to that. And that's codependence. So you have men that are basically telling women, hey, be easier. Don't be so emotional. You're too much. You know, you're such a pain in the ass. Or you too, you know, can you stop, you know, make this easy for me, is what men are generally saying to women, right? That's their codependence. And whereas women are in their codependence, women are saying, you know, can't you just do relationship more? Can't you just come closer? I want to feel connected to you more. Can't you just show up more? Can't you just be kinder? Can't you try harder? Et cetera, et cetera. That's their codependence. And so, you know, we do this nasty little cycle in that codependence that just leaves everyone dissatisfied. And so women are generally the first to emerge out of that, because women, in the power balance of things, women have had less power in that codependency, in that dynamic. And so women are the first to leave that dynamic and say, no more. I am not going to let a man tell me what to do. I'm not going to let a man diminish me. I'm not going to let a man have more power than me. I'm going to take my power. So the first part of that kind of comes with a fuck you. I don't need a man, right? That's a very natural response to that codependent insanity, right? I don't need a man. Men just want to control you and tell you what to do, and they can't, you know, whatever. It's all criticism. Right? And it is hurtful, but it's necessary in the evolutionary journey out of codependence. It really does. So there's a motto of codependence, and that is, I need you to be a certain way so I can be happy. That's codependence. And when a woman is saying, I don't need a man, what she's really saying is, I don't want to have to depend on a man anymore to be happy. Right? And eventually, if she keeps doing her inner work and confronting her fear, because you're absolutely right, that's coming from a place of fear. The fear of every man I've ever interacted with really treated me terribly, and I'm not doing that again. And it's the fear of surrendering again to relationship, because that's going to happen again. Right? And so what this stage 2 experience, this kind of independent mind, emerges, and this is really healthy. And I went through this myself after a relationship with that Latin woman. I was militant, Lucia, after that relationship, because I felt like I tried all kinds of ways to make her happy, and it never worked. Right? I was militant when I got out of that relationship. I literally said these words, and I had no concept of these stages and codependence and interdependence. I had no concept of that, but I literally said these words. I am not going to be responsible for anyone else's happiness. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to make anyone responsible for mine. It's the same way of saying, I don't need a woman. Like, I don't need, right? It's like, I don't need a partner. I got me. If someone can't be happy with me as they are, then I don't need you. Make sense? So it's very militant at first, but over the years, as I keep doing my own transformational work and confronting my own fears and seeing my own stuff and why I was choosing codependence, you know, all that relaxes, and through that inner work, I'm able to really understand and come to see my own wholeness, that I am whole and complete in myself. That I have the universe in me. I have both masculine and feminine energies. I have all the emotions in me. I have masculine capacities to succeed. I am a complete container. And there's this part of me that yearns to love. Like, who I am actually is love. I have so many gifts to offer, right? And in the recognition of that, it's like, that desire to do intimacy again, to partner with a woman, really begins to emerge, and it becomes, Tony Robbins says that intimate relationships magnify emotions. That's why we do them, right? They magnify an experience, and you're right. The reason women in their deep feminine nature have so much emotional expression to offer, and an intimate relationship is the container within which you get to do that. All of it, right? And so it's natural, that yearning and the feminine value of to connect. It's natural to want to express that, and to do that with a partner is literally divine. It's the union of masculine and feminine, yin yang. We experience our own divinity. So you're very right. It's very natural that we yearn for that. But I really just want to underscore that independent stage is very. It's important. Right? And if women watching this are kind of in that place, good on you. But it's not the end of the story. There's a third stage. There's a new. I said the motto of the first stage is I need you to make me happy. The motto of the second stage of independence is I don't need you, and I don't want you to need me either.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Let's not need each other, because with that, it sucked. So no more needing. But now the third stage, there emerges this new, from that place of independence, now there emerges this new consciousness. And it's built on the recognition that I don't need, but I can allow myself to want. Now I can enjoy the wanting. I want a woman. I want a man. And I'm okay with my wanting. I don't need, but I love my wanting. And that's the place within which now we can really do an exquisite dance with another human being, because a lot of women I know believe that if they were in their feminine energy, they're going to get abused. Like, yes. Being feminine means being weak. And if I'm feminine, that men are going to just attack me and abuse me, and it's going to be terrible. And in the first stage, yeah, it is. In that codependent feminine, absolutely, it is. You're going to be abused because you're not going to stand up for yourself. You have no masculine energy to work with. You have no independence. You're completely dependent on validation, connection, support, love, everything from outside of you, right? So you're right. However, as we move through these stages and really find, there's a lot of self-love talk these days, and that is the stage of independence, learning how to love yourself, to take care of yourself, to not need someone else to do that for you. Because from that platform, from that foundation, now we can show up and give our love from our fullness to another human being, rather than that stage one, take love because we're empty. Right? So that's why this progress, this step is so important. I can't emphasize that enough. But it's just not the end of the story. I'm aware that I'm talking a lot.
You explained it so beautifully.
Thank you.
And I took notes. Everyone must take notes. Every time we do an interview here on Lucia Gabriela TV, I have my book of notes, and you must have your book of notes and review them all the time.
So what's coming up for you as I'm sharing all of that?
It's just fascinating, the last stage that you mentioned. The first stage is the codependency, which many of us had been in, especially a child. It's understandable for a child and adolescent. But, like you mentioned before about the rituals, unfortunately in our society in the past decade, we have rituals that help us to go from the childhood in ritual into embrace the adulthood and the maturity of ourselves. So I feel like the ritual of becoming independent in a very nature and like mature way. I lost the word. Has been lost. But now the stage of being independent in the mind. I don't need you. I don't want you to need me. It's still kind of stage of like, it's still a lot of emotional pains too, right? Because it comes from that evolution of like, I've been codependent and this sucks. There's still this emotional work that needs to be done to really let go of and move into the conscious wanting. And I love the aspect that you mentioned about wanting, because that's the last stage, right? Like, I don't know what the title of that stage you call it, but I put it conscious wanting, that you love you wanting and you love that desire that you have.
That's a beautiful name for it, conscious wanting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
and and what I love about that is that, when you have so many people talked about the empower wordings, and a lot of people against the wanted, and they have this whole aspect of like the law of attraction, the whole philosophies that wanting is bad, that you should not be wanting something.
Yeah.
And when you mentioned about the wanting, I was having this internal conflict with the wanting, because even though that some people, some philosophy talks about when you want something because you don't have it, so now you want something because you don't have it. Now the universe, that whole sense.
I know it very well. Yes.
So when you talks about wanting, it can create some kind of conflict to some people or some viewers. And that's why I put the conscious wanting, because it is the wanting that you love, the wanting that it comes from your essence, and we're human and we use words to define, sometimes to speak our soul language, and our soul cannot speak like English sometimes. And the only word that can resonate sometimes is the wanting. But is that when you talk about it, I melt into that whole concept, because I felt the energy of it. I felt the motion of that desire, and that sensual desire of being in and manifest the wanting of being in that relationship, and just manifesting it. It's like, I don't know, it's hard to explain it, but it's the energy of the blissful, playful wanting. That is conscious.
I heard a teacher, a woman teacher once, she stated this beautifully. It was actually, I heard her, she was answering a question from a man. And by the way, this is a very masculine concern, wanting. Like, we shouldn't want anything. We should be very stoic, have no emotion. This is the domain of the masculine. This is kind of a masculine insanity. Like, desire is bad, right? That's kind of more of a masculine consciousness. And I heard a woman spiritual teacher say once, in response to a man asking her that question, and we were at a big gathering and she was taking questions from the audience, and the man brought this up, like, isn't wanting bad? And she said to him, I remember these words. She said, well, you have to realize that your wanting brought you here. And this is the words she used. I'll never forget this. So beautiful. She said, the feast is in the longing. The feast of life is in our longing, right? The feast, the food, the abundance of life, the richness of experience is in our desiring, right? And again, I love these three stages, and I've I'm a student of David Data's work, and he talks a lot about these three stages, and my interpretation is probably different than his. But in that first stage, we're not just wanting, we're needing. Like, if we don't get it, we're in pain. We hate our life, we hate ourselves and other people, right? That's very unhealthy. That's not just wanting, that's fear-based scarcity thinking, that if I don't get it, I'm somehow have no value, right? That's the stuff that we're really wanting to work out of. That we know that doesn't serve, right? That just perpetuates everything we don't like about civilization, the consumer society, using each other, exploiting the environment, all that stuff comes out of that needing, right? So, but as we, again, do our work, our inner growth work, our spiritual work, as we learn to love ourselves and see ourselves as whole and complete human beings, that I don't actually need your validation to be validated. I'm valid. My existence is valid, whether or not you agree, whether or not you reciprocate that, right? Once we get that, we come to that place, we're still human once we get there, right? We don't all of a sudden not be human anymore. So our desires, our longings, our drives, all of that is still present. Now we just get to have fun with it. Now we get to, we can recognize, when is that coming from fear, and when is it coming from just joy and enthusiasm? It's like, I mean, making love can come from a place of fear. I can use women because I feel empty, or I can make love with my woman because I am so full of desire and attraction, and she's so delicious, and we can have that experience, and that is beautiful for both of us. Whereas this part over here, I'm just using a woman for her body because I don't feel good about myself, and I'm trying to get some self-esteem points. That doesn't feel good to anybody, right? That's the difference between the needing and the allowing myself to want. Right? So conscious wanting, I really love the way that you language that. The term kind of commonly used is interdependence. David Data calls it intimate communion, right? Lucia Gabriela calls it conscious wanting. Beautiful.
Thank you.
I really love that, because that's really what it is. And see, that's so powerful, because in that place, I was saying earlier how particularly women think that being feminine means if I'm feminine, men are going to take advantage of me. If I'm nurturing, if I give what I want to give, men are just going to take. They're just going to abuse me and take, and they're going to take me for granted and all that. And I say, bullshit. When you are really connected to your feminine essence and allowing your wanting, but on a foundation of knowing you don't need, no man will ever take advantage of you. He can't possibly, because you won't stand for it. The moment you feel that your wanting is being violated, or the moment that you feel a violation, that you're being used in some way, you're allowing yourself to want, and knowing you don't need will immediately change your course. You will not keep interacting with that man, or you'll use anger to wake his ass up to what he's doing. Right? If he's using your body sexually, I mean, this can happen in long-term marriages. A husband can just kind of fall into the pattern of using his wife for his shallow pleasure, and she can fall into the pattern of letting him because it's just easier than dealing with the commotion. I mean, notice how both people are conspiring to create that, and that's both that codependent neediness. Like, he needs her to just give him what he wants, and she needs him to just keep going along with the program. She needs him to not be angry at her, for example, or whatever the need is. But we're both in our neediness, and that's where unhealthy relationships, that's how they get created, because we're both in our neediness, and we haven't really found our independence yet. And learned how to then practice conscious wanting, right? Conscious wanting means you're actually willing to not get what you want. You're willing to not get what you think you need, right? That's really what it means to consciously want. One of my teachers said something years ago that I thought was brilliant. Byron Katie, she said, "Just because a man has an erection doesn't mean we need to do anything with it." Mm-hmm. And as a man, that really spoke to me, because I realized how much I had been programmed to that, sexuality is something you have to do something about. Either suppress it or express it, but don't just be with it. Get it out of the body. Whether that means, masturbate it out, or fuck it out, or just, cut it out. And that is so unhealthy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where porn addiction arises. That's where sex addiction arises. That's where disconnected sex can come from. That's where, also not showing up with masculine presence comes from, because I'm scared to show up with my full masculine presence, because that is a sexual presence. That is a strong, powerful, polarity creating presence. And the cultivating the ability to be with the sexuality without needing to do anything with it, to just be with it, that's fucking powerful. Like, wow, right? That is conscious masculine presence. Is just acknowledging, here I am all of me, from my sexuality to my whatever, to my sensuality, to my listening, to just my presence. That's the most powerful man in any room, truly.
Yeah. And when society make a man to shut down and disconnect from their, the genitals, like direction, it is truly painful for for man and the relationship itself, because
Absolutely.
it is so easy to disconnect and it is harder to reconnect.
Yes.
It's like yesterday I was watching a movie. I just couldn't go to sleep or whatever. And it was called The Concubine from, it was Asian movie and it had subtitles. But it shared the story that in ancient times in China, I think it was China, Korea, they used to cut the men's penis if they were going to be some kind of servants to the crown.
Yes.
Because they didn't want the men to have arousal and all that sexual drive, and if for any of the women, of the wife of the the king or anything like that, and that way they preserve some kind of like, it was just fascinating when I was watching it, because some men, something episode happened where the king asked, "Oh, are you aroused?" And they check the men's penises, and they think that because they didn't have a penis that they were not aroused, and they shouldn't be having that wanting desire of sexuality. And it was fascinating to see that. It's like, and when we look at today in our life society, that happened with a lot of men. They don't have that connection with their penis and in the forearm, with the body and their sexuality and their arousal. And it's so beautiful. Just like I say, some of my women clients, right? Like just even eating in arousal, allow yourself to be in the arousal stage and just being it. And for women, it's easier for me to go to dinner and be in my arousal stage and be that. But for men, it's hard because, they get erected and, bad. Society is so bad, so bad.
Yeah. Well, and certainly, I mean, women also. I mean, you've been shamed for your being aroused as well. But yeah, we've all been shamed. I actually had a friend of mine called me last night, a really close friend of mine for many years, and he was married for a long time, and he's now divorced, and he's exploring, he's dating for the first time really in his adult life. He's in his 40s, and his sexuality is present, and he's starting to I think he had his first sexual experience with a woman, not his wife, and and he's navigating, what do I do? I don't want to be a guy, I don't want to be that dick that just uses women. How do I do this? Like, what do I do? I mean, is it, and I reminded him, man, look at all the shame that you're running into right now around just being a sexual person, right? I mean, this is what any thoughtful, sensitive man is going to have picked up, the message that we should be ashamed of being sexual. In men's work, so I co-facilitate a men's program called the New Masculine Program. And one of the things that we do in that program, it's exclusively for men, is we reconnect with our balls. I mean, we really, a powerful man, most men are just either living from their brain or their balls. One of the two, right? It's the joke, like, you can't have blood in both your brain and your balls at the same time, right? Well, a truly powerful, integrated man is a man that his brain, heart, and balls are connected all at the same time. right? We're living fully connected in our whole body, from our balls to our heart, in our brain, all connected. But most men, we're completely disconnected from our hearts, from love, right? Authentic experiences of love. And we're usually mostly in our brains, living in strategy, which is also why we don't understand women's anger, because it doesn't make logical sense to us, right? Or then we go into our balls and watch porn, or, you know, just have a sexual experience, or, you know, or take it out on the sports playing field. That's where we use our balls a lot, you know. So just there are a few safe domains that really, in the end, you know, where are women in that? They're not. Women aren't really present. Like, your heart isn't present where most men's balls are, right? Same with your brain. You aren't present in relationship. When a man is just doing relationship to serve his balls, there's no woman present. She may as well be a doll, a blow-up doll, right? Or where just his brain is present. All she is then is a kind of a tool for his own self-satisfaction, right? The work for men, and it is, well, it's hard work, but it's heart work. It's about learning to really be in our hearts, to connect to our hearts, to breathe. And you know, you said connecting is harder than disconnecting. I would suggest that actually we're just a lot more practiced at disconnecting. We're trained to disconnect. I was a military officer. I received millions of dollars of actual government training that taught me how to disconnect from my heart. It was specifically designed to disconnect my head from my body, right? That's the military, but we get that at college. We get that in culture. We get that in our movies. Everything is kind of designed to, you know, worship the mind, worship the intellect, never mind the heart. And, you know, just use your balls when you need sex, or you need to score a touchdown, and you know, when there's only a minute left in the game, stuff like that. So, you know, this is really the work, I think, confronting men, is learning how to get out of our heads and stop being completely reliant on our balls or disconnected from our balls, and really, you know, find our hearts again, reconnect to our hearts. Reconnect our hearts to our brains and our balls. I've said balls a lot during this conversation, but, you know, it's important, us men, to be whole and integrated. You know, it's the Trinity, the Holy Trinity: brain, balls, and heart.
I love that Holy Trinity for men, balls, and heart.
Yeah, and that's what a woman wants. A woman wants a man who's integrated in all three. Is that fair to say? I mean, when I say that, what comes up for you? What happens for you?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, a man in his full presence, in his full integrated body, recognizing his power in his, you know, his ball. Put it this way, right? Like recognizing the infinite power, and with the connection of the heart. You can feel it. Like, you can feel a man who is, yeah. And like I said, women crave those men, and that's why I love your work, and I love the work also of Destin. That, you know, all of you who are doing and helping men in society to reconnect and to remember and to reawaken into the masculine and into the full essence, integrating and dancing, like you said, like dancing with the feminine and the masculine. It's such a beautiful experience. I love. That's why I'm excited about 2017, because I see many of us coming out and talking about this and becoming more, you know, now with social media, with internet, it's helping us to reach out more people.
Yeah, well, and we're going to get to watch how men lead when they're really disconnected from heart. Like, we just put into power, you know, a leadership, and that's just really disconnected. So we're going to get to watch how that works. I mean, I'm talking black and white. Nothing's that black and white, but I mean, there's a reason many women are really angry and upset. My mom was in tears after this election. My mom's a strong, independent woman, and she was devastated. Right?
I went into depression.
Yeah.
I mean, I am a strong, independent woman. Oh shit! But I still have my man open the door for me, take care of me, in a beautiful way. But after when we learned that morning, I for a month. It took me a lot of inner work, a lot of discovery. I went into I went into the shadows, and I was like, wow, I could not believe that I went into depression in an aspect. I couldn't write. I just couldn't. I wasn't even on social media that much. I was like, fuck everything.
Yeah. Well, I think it's very telling that the majority voted against that, but yet that still won. Because it's still enough of our consciousness that we, our shadow and our fear, that's still such a big part of our blind spot that, here's life. It's like we just elected our shadow to lead us.
Yeah, we did.
So that we can see that it actually doesn't create what we think it will. That's what I believe how this is going to play out.
We manifested what we don't want to really create what we want.
So we can see. That's right. So we can see that it doesn't work.
So when it comes back to why the anger doesn't have to make sense to you, and whole new year and the election and the new president, and you're talking about women arising, and do you feel like there's gonna be more of the conscious anger?
I think we're going to have a lot of unconscious anger arising. Actually, I think we're going to have a lot of fear-based anger. That takes tremendous self-awareness and practice to offer conscious anger, to consciously be angry. And you can tell the difference because, again, unconscious anger is all about my wound. You're hurting me. I'm hurt. Take care of me. Look at me. I can't believe you don't see me. Conscious anger is, again, it's kind of like that anger you could relate to, directed at a child that's hurting themselves, right? I mean, and even that can be expressed unconsciously. It's still, I'm afraid to lose you, right? Versus, don't do that because you're hurting yourself and it doesn't serve you. Right, that kind of anger, it's different quality of anger, and I think most people are still going to be in that unconscious. That's why the resistance, it's just going to be more of the same. That's why I've struggled to really find my own voice around what happened because I don't want to be in the unconscious anger. I don't want to be in the blaming and the and the creating sides. I really want to be in the voice that acknowledges, Donald Trump is just an aspect of my humanity. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how can I communicate from that place and owning that, that's me. So, wow, how do I offer my anger and my upset? How do I offer in the service of collective awakening versus just taking it out on, people who are taking away healthcare? You know what I mean?
I love what you just point out because I really love where you're coming from. Because I see that what I had the same kind of call in an aspect of what is my response to this? How I'm gonna respond it? I'm gonna be all crazy because I can bring my whole shadows and my ugly and my Cali and all that stuff, right? Goddess, darkness and all that stuff. And I can bring it and I just bomb it into social media and call memes and hate everyone.
Yeah.
And my internal wisdom was how can I bring this anger and how can I hope with this anger, but how can I help others to be in their empowerment, how can make it sweet and sensual and delicious, and how can, it was a time where many people were boom, 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 boom. And some of us, like you said, like you took your time to really act and say, what I'm doing with this anger, how can I be of service?
Yeah.
And not throw another bomb, because we don't need more bombs in here. We need another sacred space to evolve.
Absolutely. And we need to tell the truth. We need to give the feedback that we're hurting, that we're scared. That's important. You know, women, it's so important that you share what you're experiencing. But the more that you can do that from that kind of third stage, allowing, as it's your offering, not your demand, but your offering.
Yeah.
That is what will, I believe, and again, because I've seen it in my own experience. I mean, my girlfriend, just, you know, to make it real, when she's upset about something, and when she can offer her upset as an offering. In other words, she's you know, and she does this by reminding me, hey, you didn't do anything wrong and you don't have to fix anything. But what just happened really hurt me. I'm hurting right now. I'm in pain, right? And when she can give me her experience and remind me that I didn't do anything, I'm not a bad person, she's not against me, you know, she's not questioning my character, she's not demonizing me. Because when she does those things, and look, she's human, she will sometimes, it's really hard for me to hear her when she's demonizing me, and I have to now be confront my own shame and confront my own resistance. Like, whoa, I can't, right? I can't. It's much harder for me. I'm in the practice of learning how to hear beneath those. But yeah, I mean, this doesn't happen often. I mean, she's amazing, but it happens. So again, though, her capacity, and that's, again, her independence is what makes that possible. When she realizes that Bryan is who he is and he's going to be that way, and I love him and I don't need him to be different. But I'm going to offer when I see him disconnected, when I see him not feeling me, when I see him checking out of the relationship, or it could just be in a moment and I feel it, I'm going to offer that to him to wake him up. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. I have a question. Two questions here before we wrap it up, because you're so generous with your time, and I appreciate you in the aspect of anger. First question is, how can a man interact with a woman that is not even there, and is kind of like awareness of consciousness or inner, interdependent, is not even there, and she can use the anger to destroy. Like, how can a man deal with that? And what would you advise? Or, because it's very difficult to advise this kind of thing, but like, what can men do? Because not many women are in the consciousness like you are and I, like, where we like do so much inner work 24/7, and we actually looking our reflections every single day in the mirrors and the shadows, and loving ourselves. Not everybody's there. So if a man is in a relationship already, who he's doing his work, but she's not there, what can he do? Another question that I have is, for women, how can we women express of anger in a constructive way where we're not being destructive? Because there's a different, like you said, in the consciousness of anger, where, for example, my partner, lately he has been addicted to his video game on his phone. And of course angers me sometimes, because like you said, I'm like, come on, like, what is your life purpose?
Because he's not being present. He's not present in your relationship in that moment.
And, it comes to anger, and I have becoming, discover and exploring how can I be playful anger, and how can I play with it. But not many women are there. And how can a woman truly show an anger that is constructive and is not going to be humiliating and destructive to the men and the relationship?
Well, those are two big questions that to properly unwrap, we'd have to talk for another hour. So okay. I'm gonna answer them quickly. And then the first one that you asked, essentially, how can a man be with a woman who is just completely in that stage one, who only can use her anger to destroy and cut down? but most men cannot be with that kind of anger. I can't be with that kind of anger. I struggle to be with when my girlfriend shows up with that kind of anger, and it's tame. What she does when she's in that mode is tame compared to what I've experienced with other women. But it's still that same energy. It's really hard for me to deal with it. It's really hard for me to be with it because that energy just triggers the same in me. It triggers the same, whoa, it comes out like a fuck you. Well, what comes out in me is, well, fuck you back, right? That's kind of the initial dynamic that's set up. So, if that's what's happening all the time, if a man, you're really doing your work and she's not, why are you still with her? What are you trying to teach yourself? I would just invite you to sit with that question. What are you trying to learn through this situation, right? And are you ready to learn it so you don't have to repeat it again? You don't have to keep doing it, right? So, just a question to consider. I'm not saying you should leave, because obviously if you're staying, then you have more to learn here. So, and again, that was me 10 years ago, what you described, but I had so much to learn. That's why I stayed, right? So that's question number one. Question two, how can you offer anger? I'll make it simple. It's the difference between feedback and criticism, right? Criticism essentially tells him what you're doing is wrong, right? Criticism essentially says, I have more direction than you do. So criticism is very emasculating because it's basically you saying, hey, I'm more masculine than you. I know how to do this. I know what you should be doing. I'm your, or it makes you his mommy, right? Neither of those are very enjoyable to either one of you, right? That's criticism. Criticism is all about what you're doing that doesn't work, that you need to do differently. Feedback, however, is this is the experience I'm having in the midst of all this, right? So feedback, and as just an actual tool that I teach women to use, is you can actually use these words. And again, me and my girlfriend are in this practice. You can use the words, hey, you're not doing anything wrong. You have every right to live how you choose to live. If you want to spend your life playing video games, you really have that right. But I want you to know, I feel terrible in the presence of it. Mm-hmm. I don't feel you. I don't feel connected to you. It hurts me, right? It makes me sad. Also, I see a man with so much potential, and it saddens me to think that, you could be doing these other things and you're choosing not. And again, you have every right to not choose. You live how you want, and you have that freedom. So what you're doing is you're acknowledging his masculine value of freedom. But you're also giving him notice that I may not hang around long if this continues. So you're basically becoming the invitation for him to show up rather than demanding that he show up. Huge difference. No masculine person is going to respond well to your demand. But every masculine person on some level is very attuned to your invitation. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it's unfortunate, but a lot of men have to lose the relationship. They have to lose their girlfriend or their wife in order to finally wake up and realize, oh shit, she was serious. Or what I was ignoring, I shouldn't have ignored. Right? Because again, men in the masculine, we can disconnect from feelings. So that's why we go to war. We can be uncomfortable for a long period of time to kind of accomplish the mission. And the mission might be keep the relationship together, or just, don't create a lot of problems for myself, by making, just keep things where they are, keep them static. Right? So I'm going to keep playing my video games. Yeah, okay, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to keep, she's not going to do anything about it. So yeah, right? Until he realizes, oh shit, I'm actually going to lose my heart if I don't wake up and make different choices, right? But if you tell him what to do, he's just going to be like, hey, fuck you. I can do it. Don't tell me what to do. That's the masculine objection. Don't tell me what to do. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
So the difference between feedback and criticism. Feedback is essential. You must tell him what you're experiencing. But as a practice, do your best to tell him what you're experiencing without making him wrong. Without making him, like what he's doing is wrong or he should do something different. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. It's
a practice. And the more you can have fun with it and be playful with it, even the better. But don't dismiss your pain using humor. Don't deflect. Be really careful about that. If you're hurting, if you're in pain, if this really hurts, it's really important. Because if you use humor and playfulness, he might think you're not serious. Like, he really needs to get that this is real for you. This isn't something you're laughing off. Right? He really needs to understand how serious this is, if it's that serious.
The only thing that I have with that, and I'm just talking about me, but in general with even men and women, is I know that the anger is a wake-up call, and also because working with so many men also that they change their life because they don't want to lose their partners because they're based on that fear. It just doesn't feel right to me. I don't know. It's like doing something because if you're gonna lose it, you know what I mean? If you don't do it, you're gonna lose it.
Well, what you're yearning for, Lucia, is a third stage man. Most men are not third stage men. Most men are very much in their first stage. And so, we're talking about the world at large.
Yeah.
In a third stage relationship, no, a man shows up because it's his joy, it's his choosing. He's consciously wanting. But most men are not in that place. Most men are starting from the stage one, codependent, my needs. I'm just going to do whatever I want, and it doesn't matter if it works for her or she feels good. I can block that out. Right? So he does need to be woken up. He does need to feel that this is serious. So it's not that you're using fear, but it is that fear is a powerful motivator for a stage one man to wake up.
Okay.
Does that make sense? It's not the ideal, I get it, but as we evolve through these stages, then stage 3 emerges where we're not just operating out of fear, we're playful now. Now the playfulness emerges. Now when my girlfriend gets upset, when we do it well, I can just be playful with it. I'm not listening because I'm afraid. Oh shit. No, I'm like, okay, I know what this is. Oh yeah, you want to do this? Let's do this. Like, we can play fight. Every couple of days, my girlfriend, when things are going really well all the time, my girlfriend will say, she'll give me that look and go, I want to fight. And I'll go, I know you do. I knew it was coming. And then we'll play fight. We'll make up an argument or something. Because that's how the feminine connects. She connects through emotions and feelings and, life. Right? Yeah. So it's playful in that place. We're not with each other. I'm not showing because I'm afraid. But early in our relationship, though, we did break up. She ended our relationship for a few weeks because I was stuck in that place. So I am not, I'm on my journey also, and I needed that wake-up call because I was doing the same thing that men do. She was communicating that she was uncomfortable, something was off for her, and I was just like, we'll get through it. I was like, yeah, we'll get through it. Just work on your stuff, I'll work on mine, we'll get through it. And eventually she was like, done. And she did it with so much respect. She was so honoring of my journey, of my right to live how I want, to choose how I want, that it just, whoa. And then she walked away. She didn't need me. It was astonishing, but that created the vacuum that created the opportunity for me to wake up and realize I want to choose this woman. And if I'm gonna choose her, I gotta be on my game. I gotta show up now. I have to really figure out what it means to be in my heart, right? And that's the practice that I'm in. And I love saying my girlfriend, she's teaching me how to live everything I know. I already know all this shit, but I'm a smart dude. But I gotta live it, and she's my teacher.
I do the same thing with my partner. And like we are talking about relationships and all that stuff, and I have to walk my talk.
Absolutely. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, we have so much content in this video, and I really appreciate for your time and for being so open and vulnerable and sharing so much of your wisdom with us. And I truly, 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 truly appreciate you. How everybody can connect with you, and what kind of program or retreat you have coming up soon? I know that you have something for March 18.
Yes, I do. So it's 2017. I'm doing a lot of live events in Los Angeles. You can find those on my website, Bryan with a Y, BryanReeves.com. And I have a audio program there called Love, Sex, Relationship, Magic, which again, we dive into this stuff and we talk about more about the 3 stages and also about masculine and feminine dynamic and how to really move through those 3 stages. And there's tools and practices to help you do that. That's on my website. And all my blogs, I mean, there's lots of free content there. So really my website, and I'm really active on Facebook at Bryan Reeves Official also, but you can get all that through my website, BryanReeves.com, Bryan with a Y, Reeves.com. Thank you so much, Lucia, for doing this. It's been really great talking with you. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And it's such a nice, beautiful experience and journey to do this interview with you, which I would say that you're definitely in that amazing journey of the bold masculine, that beautiful masculine that we all women, we crave and we want, and we asking for more of you to show up, and more of you mentors to also help our men and our women, help all of us to show up and to live an orgasmic, delicious life.
Thank you. And my girlfriend, she is an amazing teacher, and she's also she's been a therapist for many years, and she's stepping into coaching, and her name is Sylvie Kukassian, and I'm not even going to try to spell that for you, but if you can find her, she's on my website too.
Yes,
follow her. She's amazing.
Yes, and hopefully we can also bring her to a show. So
that would be amazing. I'm sure she'd love that. Yeah.
Yes, hook us up.
I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Bryan. Again, my love and my gratitude to you. And thank you for everyone watching today and watching the recording. And if you like what you've seen here at Lucia Gabriela TV, please subscribe, share this video with everyone in your community. It's really important topic. We have so many golden nuggets here that will really help you in your relationship and in your love life. So I love you all. Have a fantastic, amazing, orgasmic day and live your life fully. Bye.
Bye.